Let me keep it real, 2024 was a pretty mediocre year for new roller coasters. There was quite a lot to look forward to going into the theme park operating season, however so many rides were delayed, some failed, and a few were even cancelled. Despite these unfortunate events, we did still get some cool rides, and in this video I want to rank the top 15 that defied all odds and made its grand debut in 2024. Now, it doesn't matter how coaster obsessed you are, a man can only ride so many in 1 year, meaning I, of course, have yet to experience all of the new ones. I did make an effort to ride the major stuff though, so for those I'll have a thing or two to say. But otherwise, I'll be using general consensus in the roller coaster enthusiast community to determine how these rank. Before we get started, I did want to give a few honorable mentions to rides that might still open in 2024 even though there's only a few weeks left until the new year. Go figure, these are all in China. It's hard to find accurate, detailed information on these. Probably my favorite name ever for any ride now, Inverse Time and Space Roller Coaster at Silk Road Paradise in Shenyang is a fully built Intamin Zackspin coaster. I was shocked to see that these were still in production as we haven't seen any open since 2011. This will be the same layout as Kurnu at Linnanmäki in Finland, a super short ride with some nice flipping. Mad Racers at Fantasy Valley, also in Shenyang, is a mostly built wooden coaster from Great Coasters International. This one's opening has been postponed for years, but with track work nearing completion, I suspect it'll open at the latest 2025, maybe 2024. Layout is almost identical to that of American Thunder at Six Flags St. Louis or Thunderbird at Power Park in Finland. Great rides that'll make for a solid fit at this park. Also fully built is the S&S Air Launch Coaster at Colorful World in Changsha, and this one is weird. It even ran with some test runs as you see in the footage here, but then just didn't open. Not sure what's going on here, but it could be any day now that this sees riders. Though it's got a relatively short layout, I'm a big fan of some of the elements on here. Lastly, these ones we know little to nothing about. There is a Vekoma Space Warp Coaster at Oriental Heritage Zhangzhou, a Vekoma Top Gun Coaster at Fantawild Kunming, a Vekoma Top Gun Coaster at Fantawild Yingzhou, and a Zamperla Thunderbolt at Chinahin City in Ningbo. Here's one more honorable mention for a completely different reason as the others, Nemesis Reborn at Alton Towers in Staffordshire, England. It's not really a new roller coaster, this was just a full retracking and retheme to the former Nemesis, which opened in 1994. But I felt it was worth a mention since its reopening was a big deal in 2024, and having tried it myself, I thought it was great. For those who did want to count it, this is easily top 10, probably even higher. Alright, enough dilly-dallying, let's begin the countdown with number 15, Fire in the Hole at Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri. It wasn't on my bingo card that the incredible Silver Dollar City would pull an Alton Towers and rebuild their classic Fire in the Hole dating back to 1972. The Dark Ride Coaster Hybrid was always an immensely enjoyable family attraction that I hear is all the better after its grand reopening. It was brought back by Rocky Mountain Construction, a first of its kind ride from them, and features sleek vehicles with onboard audio. The theming isn't too different overall, but it didn't need to be. Shouts out to the park for preserving their history. Number 14, All-American Triple Loop at Indiana Beach in Monticello, Indiana. Honestly, I wasn't really sure what to do with this one. The highly anticipated ride was a complete disaster upon opening as it experienced heaps of downtime and, on top of that, received negative reviews. While I didn't hate it like some others did, I also wouldn't say I enjoyed it either. But since I rode the coaster, Indiana Beach has removed the bulky over-the-shoulder restraints, which according to many, including myself, was the primary reason the ride under-delivered. Me placing Triple Loop in the top 15 is me giving Triple Loop the benefit of the doubt. I do trust it would be substantially better now. The one part I thoroughly enjoyed even with the old restraints were the 3 vertical loops, super intense and not uncomfortable. I look forward to trying this again at some point in the future. Number 13, Thunderbolt at PNE Playland in Vancouver, Canada. While everyone had their focus on another renovated Zamperla launch coaster, Thunderbolt quietly opened up and I've heard little to nothing about it. But it seems like it was a success, so good on Zamperla for not f***ing a second new for 2024 roller coaster. No, but in all seriousness, I like the look of the launch on this one, along with the airtime on the Twisted Hills. I'm glad the former Intamin launch coaster, Senza Fiato, has a new home in Canada. Number 12, Bobcat at Six Flags Great Escape in Queensbury, New York. The only new roller coaster to open in the Six Flags chain, no seriously, I wish I was kidding, Bobcat was the park's first new coaster in more than 2 decades. The Gravity Group has proven that they can deliver a kick-ass family Woody, and this was exactly what Great Escape signed up for. It was the first ride of its kind to use all pre-cut track, meaning it tracks incredibly smooth, and the layout is filled to the brim with airtime hills. For whatever reason, this one did feel a little bit tamer than its sister coasters, but I think that was the request of the park since this was impeccably well designed. So whatever, still one of the best new coasters we got in the United States this year. Very, very, very fun. Number 11, Iron Menace at Dorney Park in Allentown, Pennsylvania. While we're on the topic of typically neglected parks, it was great to see Dorney Park receive their first new original coaster since 2005. While it wouldn't have been my first choice for a major ride addition here, it did do a lot for the park, further strengthening the roller coaster lineup with the park's single best drop and a great assortment of forces. A lot of people have been talking about how surprisingly shaky Iron Menace is, and while I agree the ride could have been higher without the rattle, this has started to overshadow the elements in my opinion. While it's far from a perfect ride, I really enjoyed getting on another rock-solid dive coaster. Number 10, Donkey Kong Minecart Madness at Universal Studios Japan in Osaka, Japan. Opening less than a week ago, this highly themed family coaster looks like pure joy from start to finish. Located in the park's expansion of Super Nintendo World called Donkey Kong Country, the ride features a first-of-its-kind boom coaster technology where the car is attached to a track hidden out of view. This allows for all sorts of trippy illusions where riders seem to fly off the rail, so to speak. We will also get this ride in the United States at Universal's Epic Universe, so it'll be great for us Americans to have closer access to this fascinating attraction. Number 9, Jungle Rush at Dreamworld in Gold Coast, Australia. Although this technically is yet to open, testing is well underway with an opening date set before New Year's. The first of its kind Vekoma Switchback model will likely be one of the world's best family coasters upon its debut. Expect a unique inclined turntable which will randomly send riders forwards or backwards through an action-packed layout of twists and turns. Combined with some beautiful tropical theming, I think this will very likely be the new best ride in the park. Jungle Rush is flying under the radar, and it's a shame. This is something to be really excited about. Number 8, Hala Madrid at Real Madrid World in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. I swear I must have heard like 2 or 3 coaster enthusiasts mention this ride all of this year, and that's a big mystery because this layout is enormous. Formerly known as Bombay Express back when this place was themed to Bollywood, the park was standing but not operating for many years before finally opening this ride at the beginning of 2024. According to the park, this great coaster's international wooden coaster has some of the most airtime of any one ride on Earth. Though if it's like its sister rides, how it runs is likely subjective to how full your train is, and from what I understand, Real Madrid World has struggled to even break even. It's a fascinating attraction at a fascinating park that I think more people should have their eyes on. Number 7, Fighter Jet at Fantawild Oriental Dawn in Shandong, China. Usually you see a bunch of huge rides open in this country, but it seems in 2024 they even took a backseat. Likely their most substantial coaster opening this year was the Vekoma Top Gun, the 4th of its kind in China and the world. The compact launch coaster model looks tremendously fun, with a punchy initial launch before a spaghetti bowl of inversions and airtime hills. Though it's not the longest ride, its layout is astounding, and I'd love to see one of these make its way to the other side of the world. Number 6, Fianna Force at Emerald Park in Ashbourne, Ireland. Finally, another one I've ridden, and it often surprises people when I tell them this might be my favorite inverted coaster ever. Fianna Force was the second iteration of Vekoma's suspended thrill coaster, and having done both, it was clear they improved on the model big time. This is buttery smooth, forceful, and loaded with airtime, probably more than any other invert times 3. Emerald Park also themed the attraction and intertwined it with a Vekoma family boomerang, making for some nice interaction between the two rides. This was a big deal for Ireland, seeing as the country's amusement scene is minuscule relative to the rest of Western Europe. But it's an exciting time for those who live there, as they've now got a legitimately world-class coaster. Number 5, Mahuka at Walibi Rhone Alps in Les Avianeres, France. The sleeper hit of my 2024 Europe tour, Mahuka far exceeded all of my expectations. This was Intamin's second attempt at a single rail coaster, and while I've yet to ride the prototype, I hear this one is much better. Aside from it having a bit of a short length, it's virtually perfect for what it is in my opinion. You've got 2 tire-propelled launches, exceptional airtime, 3 solid inversions, and nice presentation to go along with it. It's funny, I haven't heard a lot about this coaster in the enthusiast community, but take it from me, this is a legitimately spectacular ride, and now my second favorite coaster in all of France. Number 4, Skull and Hattie at Jeonju World in Jeonju, South Korea. Opening at the end of November, we finally got a Rocky Mountain Construction single rail coaster in Asia. And of course, it's just one of 2 RMCs on the continent in general. Skull and Hattie is not getting nearly as much hype as it should considering how great these rides are. Sure, we have clones here in the United States like Stunt Pilot at Silverwood, but if you've ridden that, you know it's an absolute blast. The model's pacing is tremendous with virtually no chance to catch your breath as you're flung up out of your seat from whippy airtime hills and inversions. The length is embarrassingly short, so make sure you go in with the right expectations, but in doing so, this is now one of the best roller coasters in all of Asia. Number 3, Top Thrill 2 at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. I know what you were thinking. Was Top Thrill 2 really going to count since it only ran for a couple of days before shutting down? Well, part of me didn't want to, as the project is just sad and turned out to be a disaster for both the park and manufacturer Zamperla. They took a former Stratocoaster from Intamin, one of the most technologically challenging rides in the world, and decided to reimagine it with no former experience. I won't act like I'm surprised it flopped, but it's frustrating for those like myself who planned visits to Cedar Point this year expecting to get on it. Having said that, from those who did get to experience it in the few days it was operational, I heard nothing but great reviews. The launches are ridiculously fast, blasting riders to 120 miles per hour up two enormous 420-foot tall towers. I've been fascinated by Top Thrill 2 since it was announced and hope it runs far more consistently in 2025. Now, the final two on my list, I'm grateful to be able to say I've ridden, and by what is pretty much a split decision, I'm giving silver to Voltron at Europa Park in Rust, Germany. I do understand this is the popular choice for Best New Coaster of the Year, and while I think it's outstanding in many ways, there are things wrong with it that prevented it from being number one. But first, we'll start with the pros, and there's an overwhelming amount of them. The first of its kind striker coaster from Mach Rides is unbelievably innovative, with a crazy long layout consisting of so many fascinating elements. There's 4 launches, including the first ever to reach a beyond vertical angle and one that shoots riders backwards. 7 inversions, with most focusing on different things, whether it be hang time, whip, or air time. Some outrageous air time on the camelbacks, outer bank, and double up, which are just pure bliss. And to round things out, world-class theming and presentation, making for a full package experience. Where the ride suffers is also, funnily enough, in its length. Because it's so long, quite a few of these elements are filler, like the final few elements in the first half and the backward spike. 2, it's a lot more shaky and headache-inducing than a new coaster should be. Some trains run better than others, with the good ones delivering a near-perfect ride, but the bad ones damaging the coaster substantially. I'd find these cons to be more forgivable if coaster enthusiasts expose them more often, but because Europa Park does everything perfect, it's often glossed over. Still, Voltron was exactly what the park needed and delivered a standout attraction to their expansive ride lineup. A remarkably close runner-up to my number one new coaster of the year, Hyperia at Thorpe Park in Surrey, England. Mach Rides is hands down the biggest up-and-coming manufacturer, with them dominating the top 2 spots on this list. Hyperia is only their second original hypercoaster layout, and they knocked it way out of the ballpark. Though it might be a bit on the short side, virtually every element packed in here is near perfect. The first 3/4 of the layout is one of my favorite stretches of ride ever, with the new highest beyond vertical drop in the world delivering gobs of airtime. Then you fly up into the greatest Immelman ever created, also with sustained airtime. Following this is one of the craziest, most demented maneuvers that's ever been attempted, an elongated outer banked hill that transitions into a downwards barrel roll. Like, I literally don't think there's a name for that element, that's how crazy it is. Rounding out an unbelievable run is one of the world's best stalls that doubles as a dive loop. The hang time on this is madness. The ride does end on a bit of a sour note with a disgusting trim break prior to 2 final bunny hills, but it's forgivable when I have nothing but positive things to say about the rest of the ride. Thorpe Park didn't just deliver with Hyperia, they brought to the table one of Europe's new best roller coasters ever. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my rankings and why you think Voltron is better than Hyperia. I can already smell the comments. No, but it's all fun and games, be civil guys, and show me your support by giving this video a like and subscribe to Coaster Dash for more content like this in the future. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye guys.